"No one survives this," the alien nurse whispered as the scan confirmed total organ failure. The human's heart kept beating anyway. In a galaxy that measured strength in armor and firepower, one broken soldier was about to redefine survival itself. Cold arrived before memory did. It pressed against his skin in thin, disciplined layers, a sterile chill that hummed with machinery and distant power cores. Sound followed, measured tones, soft chimes, the whisper of circulating air that smelled faintly metallic. Something vibrated beneath him, steady and controlled, as if he had been placed atop the heartbeat of a ship. He tried to move. His body objected. Pain did not stab, it bloomed. It spread through him in warm, expanding constellations, mapping ribs, spine, limbs. He felt fractures like unfinished sentences inside his bones. He felt the echo of impact, plasma bursts, collapsing steel, gravity flipping sideways. He felt the memory of a battlefield folding into light. He opened his eyes. The ceiling above him was not a ceiling but a lattice of translucent panels, veined with soft blue currents. Symbols drifted across them, incomprehensible but deliberate. Light adjusted the moment his pupils reacted, dimming as if embarrassed to be caught staring. A figure leaned over him. At first, he thought the concussion was being poetic. She looked human, too human. A woman's face hovered into focus, angular and composed, her features refined with the precision of something evolved in calmer centuries. Her skin was green, not harsh but muted like sea glass beneath sunlight. Blonde hair fell in a controlled spill over one shoulder, and from either side of her head extended long, elegant ears that tapered back in smooth arcs, trembling almost imperceptibly as instruments hummed around them. Her eyes were sharp, assessing, reflective like polished stone. He blinked once, twice. "Well," he rasped, his voice a dry fracture of sound, "either I made it to heaven or elves finally won the arms race." The woman did not react immediately. Her gaze flicked to a hovering projection beside his head. Symbols cascaded down its surface in urgent columns. "You are conscious," she said at last. Her voice was steady, low, textured with restraint. "That is statistically inappropriate." He considered this. "I try not to be appropriate, it's a character flaw." Pain flared when he attempted to smile. He decided smiling was overrated. Something scanned him, an invisible ripple moving from skull to boots, leaving behind a faint tingling heat. Above him, a three-dimensional model of his body rotated slowly in midair. Sections glowed in alarming shades of red and pulsing amber. Even through the haze, he recognized bad news when he saw it. "That's not flattering," he muttered. The woman leaned closer. Up close, he could see faint patterns beneath her green skin, delicate branching lines that caught the light when she moved. Her long ears shifted slightly, angling toward a series of tones only she seemed to hear. "No one survives this," she said quietly, more to the display than to him. "Cardiovascular collapse threshold exceeded, pulmonary rupture indicators present, skeletal integrity compromised in 27 locations." He coughed. It hurt in at least 5 galaxies. 27, personal best. Her eyes snapped to his. "You should not be capable of speech." "And yet," he whispered, "here we are." Around them the room stirred. Other figures, taller, similarly green-skinned, their ears marked with subtle variations, moved between consoles. Transparent interfaces unfolded from the air at their gestures. One adjusted a field generator that hummed brighter, casting a faint glow around his body. A younger voice from somewhere near his feet spoke rapidly in a language sharp with consonants. The nurse responded without looking away from him. Her tone shifted, precise, clipped, authoritative. The humming intensified. Warmth seeped into his chest, knitting something deep inside that had been tearing itself apart. He exhaled slowly. "If this is a spa," he murmured, 5 stars. "Would recommend. Maybe tone down the whole near-death ambience." One of the other medics made a small sound. It might have been a suppressed laugh. The nurse did not smile. "Why are you conscious?" she asked him directly now. He considered giving a profound answer. Nothing profound presented itself. Stubbornness, he offered. My mother always said it'd get me killed. Her gaze softened just slightly as if recalibrating. Your species was categorized as physically inferior, she said. Lower muscle density, slower reflex arcs, reduced regenerative capacity. Wow, he breathed. Tell me how you really feel. A sharp tone cut through the air. One of the projections flickered violently, then stabilized. The red areas on the rotating model pulsed, but less urgently. The nurse's long ears twitched, angled toward the anomaly. Cellular stabilization accelerating, she murmured. Is that good? He asked. It is unexpected. Story of my life. She leaned closer again, studying his face as if searching for something hidden beneath skin and bone. You sustained internal damage that should have terminated neural activity hours ago. He squinted at her. Terminated, that's a very final word. It is accurate. He tried to lift his head. Failed. Settled for rolling his eyes. Maybe you miscalculated. She turned her attention to a panel and adjusted a control. Instantly, his vision sharpened. Pain dulled from screaming to stern scolding. Our instruments do not miscalculate, she said. He nodded faintly. Then maybe I do. A beat passed. Unexpectedly, her mouth curved, not quite a smile, but something dangerously close. Explain. He swallowed carefully. Humans are improvisational. We don't always shut down when the manual says we should. There is a manual. Probably we lost it. Another ripple passed through his body, deeper this time. He felt something aligning. Bones pressing into place, tissues sealing microscopic tears. It was not comfortable, it was purposeful. Around them, tension thickened. A pair of armored figures entered the chamber, their presence heavier, sharper. Military, he guessed. Their armor bore scoring from energy impacts, edges still blackened. They stopped at the perimeter of the regeneration field. That one of them asked. The nurse straightened slightly. Yes. He was at the epicenter of the detonation. I am aware. He should be dead. She glanced at the projection, then at the human still breathing on her table. He disagrees. The armored figure stepped closer. Is it your technology? Her long ears angled backward briefly, annoyance. Our technology prevents death. It does not reverse it. The human lifted a hand a fraction of an inch. It trembled, then fell back. I'd like to register a complaint, he said faintly, about the exploding part. Silence. Then unmistakably, one of the younger medics let out a short, startled laugh before covering their mouth. The armored figures exchanged a look. He jokes, one observed. He lives, the nurse replied. The regeneration field brightened again, then gradually dimmed to a steadier glow. The red zones on the projection faded to amber. The human let his eyes drift half-closed. Exhaustion rolled over him in heavy waves. The nurse watched the steady rhythm of his heartbeat on the display, watched it refuse to falter, watched it persist where logic said it should not. She spoke more quietly now, almost to herself. What are you? He managed to crack one eye open. Mostly water, he murmured. Some questionable decisions. Her gaze held his for a long moment. Beyond the chamber walls, the ship thrummed with distant engines. Somewhere in the void outside, debris still drifted from the battle that should have ended him. Inside, under alien lights and impossible statistics, his heart continued its stubborn percussion. The nurse reached forward and adjusted the final stabilizer setting. Rest, she said. He nodded faintly. Wake me up, he whispered, if I die again. This time she did smile. And as his consciousness finally slipped under, not into darkness but into measured, monitored sleep, the entire medical bay remained very, very awake. He woke to the sound of arguing, not loud arguing, controlled arguing. The kind conducted by people who believed volume was a primitive substitute for intelligence. Metabolic rebound exceeds projected adaptation curves. That is impossible. It is documented. He kept his eyes closed. It felt strategic. A soft warmth pulsed through his chest in slow intervals, synchronized with a low harmonic tone. The bed beneath him adjusted minutely as he shifted, as if it had opinions about spinal alignment. His cortical activity is rising, the familiar calm voice said. He opened one eye. The nurse stood at his side again, green skin luminous under the sterile glow, blonde hair pulled back now in a tighter configuration. Her long ears angled toward two figures across the room who were studying a projection of his internal systems. He followed their gaze. A rotating image of his skeleton hovered in midair. Several fractures that had previously glowed crimson now shimmered in pale gold. Fine lines stitched across them like luminous seams. He cleared his throat. Every head in the room turned. "Good morning," he croaked. "Did I miss my funeral?" The younger medic from before made a small choking sound that might have been laughter disguised as respiratory distress. The nurse stepped closer. "You were not scheduled for a funeral. Disappointing. I hear they're great for networking." She studied his face carefully. "Your neural responses are coherent. That's generous." She tapped the air beside him. Instantly, a display unfolded near his shoulder, translating alien script into a simplified human format. Heart rate, oxygenation, tissue regeneration metrics, a blinking symbol labeled unresolved anomaly. He pointed weakly at it. "That looks official." "It is. Should I be worried?" She tilted her head slightly. One ear angled forward, the other back, as if triangulating more than sound. "You should have been dead." "Ah, we're still on that. You sustained thoracic implosion trauma. Two of your major organs were compromised beyond recovery thresholds. Define recovery. Restoration to functional state." He considered. Functional is a flexible concept. The two figures across the room approached. They were not medics. Their attire was darker, marked with insignia that pulsed faintly with embedded circuitry. One of them spoke. "Human." He blinked. "That's me, mostly. You were at the center of the gravity surge." "I noticed. Our models predicted total biological collapse." He squinted up at them. "Your models ever account for spite?" Silence. The nurse's lips pressed together, holding something back. "Clarify," the official demanded. He shifted slightly, wincing as something inside his ribs complained. "You blow something up, it tries to kill me. I object. That's the process." "That is not a process. It is where I come from." The official turned to the nurse. "Is this delirium?" "No," she said calmly. "It appears to be cultural." He gave her a weak thumbs up. It trembled. He let it fall back down. A soft mechanical arm descended from the ceiling, positioning a thin band around his forearm. It emitted a scanning pulse. He felt a strange sensation, like cold light passing through bone. On the projection, new data cascaded rapidly. "Adaptive protein expression increasing," the younger medic whispered. "That is not possible without external modification," the other official said. The nurse's ears angled sharply toward the display. "There is no sign of augmentation." He exhaled. "I don't even take vitamins." The younger medic glanced at him. "Your humor response remains intact." "Very proud of that one." The nurse stepped closer to the projection, fingers moving through the air. The image zoomed inward down to the cellular level. Microscopic structures rearranged themselves in real time, reinforcing damaged membranes, altering energy pathways. She spoke quietly. "His cells are negotiating." "With what?" the official asked. "Stress." He squinted. "Are they winning?" Her gaze flicked to him. "They are refusing surrender." He smiled faintly. "Yeah, that sounds like us." A pause settled over the room. The officials exchanged another look. "This changes tactical projections," one said. "Perhaps," the nurse replied evenly. "Your projections require humility." The official's jaw tightened slightly. "We categorized humans as support-tier combatants." He raised a hand weakly. "To be fair, we trip over our own furniture a lot." The nurse almost laughed. Almost. The mechanical arm withdrew. The bed beneath him shifted upright by a few degrees. Muscles protested. He gritted his teeth. "Do not attempt to rise," she said immediately. I was testing gravity. Gravity is functioning. Figures." She adjusted a control. The pain in his chest eased marginally. He inhaled more fully this time. It still hurt, but it no longer felt like drowning in glass. The officials moved toward the exit. "We will inform command," one said. "The classification of humans must be reviewed." "Please do," he called after them weakly. "Maybe upgrade us from fragile to mildly inconvenient." The doors sealed behind them. Silence lingered for a moment. The younger medic leaned toward the nurse. "Primary caregiver assignment confirmed." She nodded. "Yes." "Congratulations," the medic said softly. "You have acquired a biological paradox." He lifted his head a fraction. "I prefer miracle, or handsome miracle." The medic covered their mouth again, shoulders shaking. The nurse looked down at him, long ears angled forward now in open assessment. "You are aware that your survival is disruptive." "I've been told." "Your species was not expected to endure direct exposure to compression weaponry." He shrugged slightly, regretted it immediately. "We weren't informed." She studied him for several seconds, then asked, "Why did you remain in the blast radius?" He hesitated. Images flickered behind his eyes, smoke, collapsing hull plating, someone pinned beneath debris. He exhaled slowly. "Someone had to hold the line. That is not strategically sound." "No," he agreed, "but it felt necessary." She was quiet at that. The projection shifted again, displaying comparative data between human tissue and her species. His lines spiked erratically, unpredictable but climbing. "Your endurance," she said, "does not align with your physiological design." He looked at her. Maybe design isn't everything. She considered this, ears tilting slightly outward. "Where I come from," he continued, voice rough but steady, "we don't win because we're built better. We win because we don't stop. That is inefficient. Extremely." She looked back at the projection, then at him. "I would like to understand this," she said. "Stubbornness?" "Yes." He smiled faintly. "Careful, it's contagious." A small chime sounded near the far wall. The regeneration field flickered, then stabilized at a lower intensity. "You are stabilizing without assistance," she murmured. "Show off," he whispered to his own cells. She heard that, one ear twitched. "You are addressing your internal structures. They deserve encouragement." She exhaled slowly through her nose. "Your species is illogical. Frequently. And yet," she said softly, eyes returning to the steady rhythm on the display, "you persist." He met her gaze. For a moment the hum of the ship seemed distant, secondary to the quiet exchange in that sterile room. "Yeah," he said simply, "we do." The door slid open again, but this time no armored figures entered. Only the low thrum of the ship and the soft glow of data remained. She adjusted his monitoring band one last time. "You will remain under observation," she said. "I was hoping for a medal. You may earn one." He grinned faintly. "Make it shiny." She turned away to input final adjustments, but not before he saw it, just briefly, the upward curve at the corner of her mouth. Outside the medical bay, strategies shifted and reports recalculated. Inside, beneath alien lights and quiet astonishment, a human heart continued its steady, unreasonable beat. He stood without assistance on the 14th day. The medical bay did not applaud, but it did recalibrate. The floor adjusted pressure beneath his bare feet, scanning for instability. The overhead panels dimmed slightly to reduce strain on his still-recovering nervous system. The regeneration field had been deactivated 2 days earlier. Now there was only him, gravity, and a room full of alien professionals pretending not to hold their breath. He swayed once. The nurse stepped forward instinctively, long green fingers hovering near his arm without touching, her ears angled sharply toward the rhythm of his heart. "I am upright," he announced carefully. "This is historically significant." "You are compensating for residual thoracic weakness," she replied. "SHH," he whispered. "Don't tell my ribs." He took one step. Pain answered, but it no longer roared. It argued. He had learned the tone of it over the past days, how to negotiate, how to breathe through it instead of against it. Survival, he had realized, was not defiance alone. It was adaptation. It was listening to damage and deciding what to rebuild. He took another step. The younger medic near the console leaned toward the nurse. Motor control stable. I can hear you, he said. We are aware, the medic replied solemnly. He reached the center of the room and stopped. The projection screens activated automatically, displaying his current internal status. Fractures sealed. Organ tissue regenerated. Neural pathways normalized. One label still blinked faintly, adaptive response unresolved. He pointed at it. You're going to have to rename that eventually. It's starting to sound like a superhero alias. The nurse crossed her arms loosely. It refers to your species' anomalous resilience. See, superhero. Her lips twitched. She did not correct him. The doors slid open. This time the officials who entered did not wear scorched armor. They wore formal insignia, their garments threaded with faintly glowing lines that pulsed in slow patterns. Behind them hovered a recording drone, silent and attentive. You are mobile, the lead official observed. I try to be, he replied. You are not expected to recover fully. Seems to be a theme. The official turned to the nurse. Your assessment. She did not hesitate. His recovery exceeds initial projections by 38%. Adaptive cellular restructuring persists but has stabilized. Cognitive function intact. Psychological state, charming, he supplied. She ignored that. Remarkably stable. The official's gaze returned to him. Human, your survival has altered strategic considerations. He folded his arms, wincing only slightly. That sounds expensive. It may be transformative. He tilted his head. You thought we were weak. We categorized you as limited. Same difference. A pause lingered. The official inclined his head just enough to register acknowledgement. We were incorrect. Silence settled over the room, not tense, not hostile, reflective. He glanced at the nurse. Her long ears were angled forward, attentive, but her posture was relaxed in a way it had not been days ago. What happens now? He asked. You will be returned to your fleet, the official said. With updated classification, joint operational status. He blinked. That's bureaucratic for we respect you, right? The younger medic coughed again to disguise laughter. It is an acknowledgement, the official replied carefully, that your species' capacity for endurance is strategically significant. He nodded slowly, took a gravity bomb to prove it. Yes. He looked around the room, the sterile walls, the humming instruments, the place where he had nearly become a statistic. I didn't survive to prove anything, he said quietly. I survived because someone was counting on me. The nurse's gaze shifted subtly. You remained in the blast zone to shield another, she said. He shrugged. He's annoying, but he's my annoying. You risked termination for inefficiency. Yeah, he agreed. We do that. The official studied him for a long moment. Your species values individual persistence beyond logical thresholds. We call it not quitting. The recording drone's lens adjusted focus. The official gave a short nod. Your presence has initiated doctrinal revision. He raised an eyebrow. You rewrote your war manuals because I'm stubborn, because you are representative. He let that settle. Representative. It felt heavier than the fractures ever had. The official stepped back. You depart in one cycle. The doors closed behind them. The room exhaled. He turned to the nurse. So I'm officially upgraded. Yes. Do I get a certificate? No. Tragic. She stepped closer, studying him not as a patient now, but as something more complex. You have changed, she said. He considered that. I was exploded. That is not what I mean. He leaned against the edge of the console. What do you mean? You no longer attempt to rise to prove survival. You rise because you expect it. He was quiet. She continued. When you first regained consciousness, you defied death as a reflex. Now you move with intention. He looked down at his hands. They were steady. I guess, he said slowly, almost dying is educational. Her ears tilted slightly outward. Explain. You spend your life assuming there's more time, more chances. When there isn't, he exhaled. You realize you don't want to waste the ones you get. She absorbed that in silence. The younger medic discreetly withdrew, leaving them alone. The hum of the ship filled the space between them. You believed humans inferior, he said gently. Yes. And now, she met his gaze directly. Now I believe you are improbable. He grinned. I'll take it. A transport alert chimed softly in the background. He straightened. This time no pain protested. Walk with me, he asked. She hesitated only a fraction before nodding. They moved down the corridor together. Transparent panels revealed the void beyond, stars suspended in indifferent brilliance. Repair drones drifted outside the hull, welding scars left by battle. You will return to conflict, she said. Probably. You may not survive the next one. Probably not forever. She looked at him sharply. He smiled faintly. Nobody does. They reached the docking bay where a human shuttle waited, scarred but functional. A small group of alien officers stood at a respectful distance. He turned to her. For what it's worth, he said, you're very good at not letting people die. Her ears angled forward. It is my function. Yeah, he said softly, but you care. She did not answer immediately. After a moment she said, your resilience has expanded my parameters. That sounds contagious. Perhaps. He extended his hand. She looked at it, then clasped it carefully. Her skin was warm, her grip precise. Try not to get exploded again, she said. No promises. He stepped toward the shuttle ramp, then paused. Oh, he added, glancing back. If anyone asks how I survived, yes, tell them it was the excellent bedside manner. Her laughter followed him up the ramp, clear, unrestrained, startling even to her own ears. The shuttle doors sealed. Engines ignited. Through the transparent viewport, he saw her standing there, green against steel and starlight, long ears lifted slightly as if listening to something beyond sound. The shuttle detached. As it pulled away from the alien vessel, he felt the weight of what had happened settle into something steady inside him. He was not invincible. He was not extraordinary by design. He was simply unwilling to stop. On the alien ship in the medical bay, now quiet without him, the nurse reviewed his final scans one last time. The anomaly label had been updated. Adaptive response, human standard. She allowed herself a small smile. In the vastness between stars, doctrines shifted, alliances rebalanced, and somewhere in the data archives of a civilization that once underestimated humanity, a new line. The shuttle doors sealed. Engines ignited. Through the transparent viewport, he saw her standing there, green against steel and starlight, long ears lifted slightly as if listening to something beyond sound. The shuttle detached. As it pulled away from the alien vessel, he felt the weight of what had happened settle into something steady inside him. He was not invincible. He was not extraordinary by design. He was simply unwilling to stop. On the alien ship in the medical bay, now quiet without him, the nurse reviewed his final scans one last time. The anomaly label had been updated. Adaptive response, human standard. She allowed herself a small smile. In the vastness between stars, doctrines shifted, alliances rebalanced, and somewhere in the data archives of a civilization that once underestimated humanity,